Let's pull up the Finals MVPs.
As you looking that up. So the funny part is Kobe, and I feel like he did this with another finals too, but he wore the MJ jersey.
Yes, he did.
After the celebration, and Shaq goes and tells him, "You're gonna have to put your own jersey on after this," or something like that. Like continuing to like that little theme that he's of him saying that Kobe's the GOAT, and it's like, but why the fuck didn't you figure it out then? If you really felt like that, why didn't you figure it out, Shacky?
That is what we are going to get into over these next 2 seasons. I feel like that's going to come to a head. But
yeah.
Shaq's 3 Finals MVPs are
3 of the top 10.
Yeah, this one's in 10th. I wanted to make sure. I thought it was 10th or 11th. I couldn't see off the top. But 3 of the top 10 in scoring, right? 3 of the top 12 in rebounding.
Yep.
From a block standpoint, 3 of the top 6.
Wow.
Field goal percentage, 3 of the top 10.
Yeah.
Where does Shaq rank amongst the greatest finals performers to ever live?
Yeah. To me, he's top 2. It has to be like, I'd argue I'm gonna go he's top 2, but he's not 2. Shout out to Drake. And that's because he completely dominated. He showed that by far he was always the best player on the court.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in some of those finals, MJ, like, he had competition to where, like, you could argue one person was probably just as good as him or not.
Maybe.
Or at least that margin of difference was closer than from Shaq to anybody else on the court. And most of the time, that other person that you're thinking of against Shaq was his teammate. Like, you know what I mean? Like of that second person that was the best in that series or whatever, or that finals. So I think it would probably be Shaq, but it's super close. Like, I'm not mad at someone saying MJ, because to me, MJ still has the single best finals like performance with the 41, 8 and 6. Like, that was insane.
I don't know.
40
Giannis
points in 4
Giannis
straight
is
games.
deserved. Giannis, the further we get away from this Giannis Finals MVP here, I think we're going to look back and say it's one of the best.
Yeah, for sure.
Performances ever.
But to say
I was just bringing it up. No, I'm not saying you're wrong about MJ. I'm just looking at this one and I was like, damn, no, best field goal percentage ever. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Fucking and 35, 12, and 5 and steal and 2 blocks. Savage. Giannis, I love you. But
we know.
Everyone knows.
The fact that Shaq is of all the Finals MVPs in history that we're looking at here, the fact that he's top 10 or top 5 or top 6 in all these different statistical categories, he's no lower than 3rd. But behind, obviously, Michael Jordan and Bill Russell, I think, would be the other one. And
Time out.
Guy won 11 championships. He carried his team 11 times.
Come on.
He's one of the greatest finals performers.
I'll probably go.
What's the Finals MVP award called?
I go Braun.
What's the Finals MVP award called?
I'll go Braun before.
Oh yeah, Russell. It doesn't say it here, but it's called the Bill Russell NBA Finals most valuable player. You know why?
Yeah, that's cool.
Because he's got 11.
And you want to know why? Because unfortunately, his freaking team was able to be the best team in the 8 teams that were there. Like,
doesn't matter. He would have won 9 Finals MVPs. He'd have more than anybody, and he deserves to be on the list. So, Shaq,
disgusting.
3rd to probably MJ and Bill Russell.
Time out. I gotta throw some shade. Gonna be the only center in Finals MVP history to average 41% from the field. You know, shooting 22 shots and making 14 points. You know,
not all about scoring. Fortunately, it's not all about scoring.
Yeah,
but I feel like Shaq doesn't actually get talked about as much as he maybe should in these discussions of best finals performer ever. Because I think everybody just kind of chalks it up to MJ and says, you know, whatever.
Well,
MJ
it's
6 and
always
0.
gonna be the
MJ
championship.
6 Finals MVPs.
It's always
I
going to
just
be
think,
the counting of the rings. I mean, when you're doing that, then you're going to always say MJ. But
I think it deserves to be talked about a little deeper than that. I guess is my point.
But when Shaq is brought up, he's always brought up as the most dominant. And like, because you didn't have.
I think that's sometimes a cop out, though. Don't you think? Like, to use most dominant, like just say he's the best at that point. Just say he's the best you ever saw.
But it's the way that it was done that makes it not look like it's the best.
Yeah, I guess Jordan was doing it a little bit more flashy, but like, I just think.
Well, with more.
I think it's. I think what. Sure, but I think that's almost holding Shaq down because of how big he is. Like what you were saying to start, how big of the discrepancy it is between him and the next guy. And I feel like it's easier to do that with MJ because MJ's not 7'2" and 800 pounds. Like,
yeah, but it's also like he's not as skilled as most players in the NBA. Like not most, but he's not as skilled as like when we're looking at. All right, let's do. So in the top 10 all time, who's the least skilled one on that list? It's probably Shaq.
Yeah, probably, but I don't think you can. I don't know. Sure.
I'm just saying that's why.
But I think skill. I think skill is a part of it, and I think Shaq had plenty of skill. You can't shoot 61% in the NBA Finals and not have skill. I don't care how big you are.
No, he definitely does. But I'm just saying he has
a short list of guys.
When you're talking about the greats, the best of the best. That's the only thing. I think of course Shaq has skill.
I think maybe if he had done it only once too, maybe I think that argument would be more justified. Where it was like, oh, but 3 separate times he's almost at 60% here.
All right,
like,
I don't want to.
That's not. That's not. It's just not easy. Like I'm not. I'm just saying it's not. It's not like
so it goes.
You could. It was. He's special, man. The guy is extremely special.
But it goes back to the
40 plus minutes a game every time. This guy's huge.
Yeah.
Like
it just.
I think he gets penalized for stuff that I don't think he deserves to get penalized for all the time.
It just goes back to like similar to what people like. What I think I mentioned this a couple pods ago, but Shaq got like he had the benefit of all the bigs that were great during his during his first 8-year stretch got old or done, and then now there was nobody to stop him. Similar to MJ,
they call him he calls himself the last Dundada of all big men.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and he even states that I think this year or maybe the year before, where he was saying that pretty much no one's there to challenge him.
It was this year. We talked about it earlier. Yeah. We talked about it earlier.
So that's another thing. That's why those stats look so dominant, and it goes back to MJ too, where MJ had this very similar. Magic and Bird retired, and they pretty much passed on the torch to him. It kind of works out similarly. So that's why he looks like he's that dominant force, which he is. I think Shaq does this, but we honestly saw Shaq go against other dominant forces, and he didn't look like that.
Yeah, but you could also make the case that he wasn't ready either. Like,
yeah, but I think there's a lot of that. Is it because they never let him get like he wasn't ready because when he went into those forces, they never let him get ready. Like
maybe, and like we said during the sweep era, like we said when he was getting swept. It's indicative of your best player when you get swept this many times and you look like a quitter. But I stand by the fact that if this Shaq goes backwards, right, and faces those great centers, I think it's a different story, as you told me when we talked about it.
I agree. And I do agree.
Now that we get to that point,
Shaq is the best center of all time.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I think
that's a great. I think that's you could definitely make that case. But I wanted to wait to this point to make a statement like that for me, because I wanted to dig through all the details. I wanted to get through this point where I can definitively say that if this Shaq went against those big time centers, I think it would be different than what ultimately happened, because he was giving them dick then. He just wasn't giving them dick on the big stage. Because I think he shriveled on the big stage for a large majority of that 90s era.
Yeah. But the thing is that this 02 Shaq, I don't think he's better than Hakeem in his prime. The 94-95 Hakeem. I don't think he's better.
That's interesting.
I think
That's interesting.
this Shaq is he got injured more, and he also, like, 2000 Shaq really was like the best player on the team, undoubtedly, and the team ran through him. You can argue this 02 Shaq, and some 01 is not much of an argument, but 02, you can argue Kobe helped him a lot in this throughout this whole process.
I was thinking about that actually while we were doing the finals, and all I will say to that is I 100% agree that they don't get to the finals without Kobe. There's no getting around that. They absolutely don't get to the finals. However,
with this whole Lakers thing,
in the finals, it's incomparable who the best player on the floor is.
For sure. But it's also created that way too. Like, I feel like if they went against the Spurs, like, let's say the Spurs was in the East, Kobe would probably be Finals MVP. Like, that is a great what if. I can't tell you yes or no to that personally. Well,
I get where you're coming from.
We've seen the last 2 years, Kobe versus the Spurs.
Yeah, and I get where you're coming from, for sure.
It's just the way that the offense and the team is ran, depending on, and that was the great part about having the big and the small, because they literally can switch the way that they played in a series to work with that. Shaq's still gonna get his, but you just focused more on Kobe in certain series, and in this case, every time he went to the East, no one had anything to stop Shaq.
Yeah. This is one of the weakest times in the history of the Eastern Conference, too. Which is important to note, and why I feel like he can't be looked at as the number one finals performer, because competition does matter in that point.
Yeah, but
like, you
don't argue.
What? Jordan? Go ahead. I'm waiting. I thought you were going to say Bill Russell.
No, I'm not, because I don't think Bill Russell's really in the conversation. Jordan,
he's in the conversation.
Jordan,
but Jordan, yeah.
I think you can argue some of those teams were like the last three-peat.
Yeah,
some of those teams, they really won't they're not as great. Sure, they might be better than the Lakers competition in the finals, though.
Or a situation like the Sonics finals, where Jordan doesn't necessarily have his best couple of games.
Yep.
Where Shaq, every finals, had his best games of the season almost every time.
Yeah, when he was on top. Yeah, because I know a lot of people are going to mention, oh, well, you guys talked about the Magic finals. Well, guess what, you Jordan cock eaters? When y'all talk about Jordan, when y'all talk about Jordan, I got the nerve to say, well, when Jordan was on top, he was always on top. Well, guess what? When Shaq was on top, no one fucked with him. All right,
and I think, and that is the definition
of apex
greatness. Yeah. You're goddamn right.